This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Looking for New Year's Eve plans? Don't miss Hollywood Casino's pre-New Year's Eve party with Purple Experience in the Event Center on Saturday, December 29th. Receive 2 complimentary drinks with each ticket purchased. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Clarke Peters stars in the new historical thriller Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin in movie theaters today, produced by Angel Studios of last year's indie hit Sound of Freedom. He joins me to recount the true story of a plot to assassinate Hitler, as well as his own career highlights from dissecting Baltimore in HBO's The Wire to witnessing angelic light behind the late Chadwick Boseman in Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods. Hey, Clarke Peters. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Hello, Jason. Thank you for having me.
You are a veteran legend of the screen as far as I'm concerned, so this is a real treat. We're talking your new movie, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, in theaters today. Now, it opens on November 22nd today, the same date, sadly, 61 years ago as the JFK assassination. But this one is about a plot to assassinate Hitler. I don't know if that release was intentional on an assassination anniversary, but this is about trying to assassinate Hitler. So give us the basic premise. Like, is this based on a true story?
It is a true story for sure. It's a true story. And it's also a necessary story for us to review again. I think. What else can I tell you about it? If I tell you about it, then you won't go see it. I think
but tell us who Dietrich Bonhoeffer was, sort of his struggle between, faith and then this killing that could save mankind.
Okay. Bonhoeffer was a man of faith, a man of the cross, a man who was trying to do the right thing. And he, in his seminary days, he finds himself befriended by a young man from Harlem who takes him to a church in Harlem where he meets an American mentor, I would say, whose name is Adam Clayton Powell Sr. And they converse on spiritual matters, and the conflict between the spiritual and the political. And Bonhoeffer is presented with circumstances that force him to really challenge his faith, and what is correct for him, to make his life complete. He sees a world where things are just not correct, as did Adam Clayton Powell coming through Reconstruction and going into the Jim Crow era. So there are parallels in their lives, although at different ages for them. And Bonhoeffer takes it upon himself to try to change the world from the pulpit, and that's the pastor part. He has affiliations with people in the Nazi Party, that's the spy part. And then he's asked to be part of an assassination plot, and that's the assassin. So when you see Pastor, Spy, Assassin, those are the phases that this man goes through. And I have to say that, unfortunately, and we know I'm not giving a spoiler here by any chance, by any means rather, to say that he didn't he failed in his so he's not really an assassin as much as someone who attempted to be part of a plot to assassinate this pariah.
Right, exactly. This isn't, Quentin Tarantino and Glorious Bastards, where he's reimagining history, where they actually do kill Hitler in the end. We all, in real life, we know. Sadly, the plot wasn't successful. But how do you keep the story interesting? Even though we know there are great movies throughout history where we know the ending and it's still riveting. So, to you, why do you think that this movie is able to keep it riveting, even though we do know the ending technically?
Well, because you don't know the nuances that led up to We don't get the little chapters. We don't get the pages of the chapters. We get the whole book, and then we only get part of it. We know that the Holocaust was a horrible event in history, but there were people who were trying to fight against that. And I know that the Christian Church gets the bad beats because it said that that there was no participation in trying to stop this atrocity. And here's a man who was trying to stop the atrocity through his religion, through his faith. So I think that that's what makes it sort of compelling. And yes, we do know the outcome, but we don't know those little moments that you will see in the film of a man who's challenging the establishment of the day. Did we know that there was a church that Hitler wanted to change the church, to put himself in the same place as Jesus? That isn't something that's common knowledge. Only thing we get is just about the Holocaust. But there was a lot going on then, a hell of a lot, and a lot of opposition by a lot of people in different groups, who were not Jewish. So it's necessary to see all of history, to see the whole picture, because then you're standing on firmer ground, basically, and it may serve you spiritually as well.
Absolutely, and like you're saying, there were good actors and bad actors of people of all faiths during these times, and like I'm glad you're highlighting. There are people that step out of that and step up and do the right thing for mankind in this case. And the character he seems kind of like like one of the conscientious objectors, like Sergeant York or Hacksaw Ridge or something, and or on your character Reverend Powell, not to be confused with Harry Powell, Night of the Hunter. Different Reverend Powell. I love how you said you tied it into sort of post-Reconstruction and Jim Crow and related burning crosses here to what was happening to the Jews in Europe. Fascinating ties. Hey, I wanted to ask you before we run about this is the DC area, Baltimore, so I want to ask you about your David Simon sort of trilogy, The Corner, The Wire, Treme, even though that was New Orleans, but specifically Lester Freeman in The Wire. That is like an iconic role, man. Like, how do you think that show went? How did you all go about creating so many iconic characters, Avon Barksdale, Stringer Bell, Omar Little, while also dissecting a different layer of the city each season? Like, that is the mosaic of all time to me. But was it just lightning in a bottle?
It was, it's really down to Ed and David. They were the ones that put the story on the page, right? They were the ones who knew all of the nuances that we as actors were learning about the city, and the characters. The characters are the characters that existed, and what we were able to do as actors was bring them to life for you, the viewer, to see, and hopefully situations that would cause some debate or conversation, and David, David loves that. He likes getting underneath the skin, and ruffling a few feathers with truth, that's the main part of, for me, the main part of his MO. He's looking at the truth and presenting it to you in a way that you can digest that or debate it or challenge it, but if you challenge it, you better go do some research, because you can bet that David Simon and Ed Burns did their research.
Exactly.
You're not messing with slouches there.
Absolutely. Well, I know we're up against the clock. I want to shout out one of my other favorite roles of yours. There's been so many. You were Hitman in John Wick and Police Chief and Three Billboards and Harriet Tubman's Father and Harry. I could go all day, but I wanted to ask you about Spike Lee's The Five Bloods. I guess you were a supporting actor nomination at the BAFTAs for that. But remind me of, none of y'all knew Chadwick Boseman was sick, but that scene in the angelic light, I've talked to Terrence Blanchard about this, scoring that scene, but man, like the idea, that's almost like a divine captured on the screen, or where Chadwick's literally ghost is coming back in that scene, in Vietnam, and all of a sudden this light comes through, and Spike must have just been looking through the monitor like, oh my God, and you didn't even know at the time. But yeah, just comments on just how that's just frozen in time.
Well, This is first of all, let me say for Clarke, and I'm not prophetizing or trying to do that. But for Clarke, there are no coincidences.
Yeah.
There is a divine order to things. We may not see it right now, but there is a divine order to things. And that order is to serve us individually and spiritually. So when Chad is standing there and the clouds part and the sun hits him, that is not something that Spike orchestrated.
No, that's not a gaffer. That's the gaffer in the sky doing that.
That is Gaffin's and Spike's blessing was that he was able to see it and capture it and present it to us. And who knew at the time? None of us knew that Chad was ill. None of us knew that. So when we look back at that, it has a really profound effect on us, to see that moment, to see him in that light, and to know where he is now. I can't speak enough about the reality of something greater than all of us that doesn't sway to our political moves, so forth and so on. But whatever it is that is greater than us is asking us just to remember there's somebody greater than you. There's something greater than you out here.
Right.
And it comes up in moments like that. It reveals itself in moments like that.
Absolutely. Well, fittingly, Angel Studios is producing this movie now, same as last year's indie blockbuster, sort of sleeper hit that took over, Sound of Freedom, underrated still. But this one is Angel Studios producing Bun Heifer, Pastor Spy Assassin, in theaters today. Everybody check it out. Clarke Peters, you're a legend. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. You have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.